be live on Facebook. Thank you, everyone who's joining us. I'm Lauren Van Hamert from RDU on Stage, and I'm gonna just make sure we are actually live, and then we can start our chat. But I am here with the amazing Tyce Diorio. I say you're amazing because I cannot dance worth anything. So anyone who can dance, I'm in awe of.
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course.
Before we get into what you're doing with Cape Fear, I really want to talk a little about you. And in your bio, it talks about how Broadway was your first love, and that if it was playing, you probably saw it, and you probably saw it 10 times. So, do you remember your first Broadway show?
Um, yeah, actually, I mean, being a young kid and growing up in Brooklyn and New York City and being exposed to the arts and theater, I remember I remember going to see. I think Sarah Jessica Parker was in the production of Annie. Like
Oh,
when I was a young kid, she was playing Annie, and so I remember seeing that. And then as I grew up in New York City, seeing incredible shows, like Cats or Starlight Express or Jerome Robbins Broadway, all these incredible shows, Guys and Dolls, and just classics. And then I loved because I was learning how to sing growing up. I was taking acting class and dance class, and then everything was just like a snowball effect for me. So I loved theater, and I loved telling a story and having have the words have some purpose, and then the movement being connected to the story. So in a smart way.
well, and let's talk about movement and theater for a second because I remember Jerome Robbins Broadway. I love that compilation of I love that when I was younger. I thought it was brilliant just seeing all of these iconic dances. I mean, and um Cats was very big in my house for a long time. My
Yeah.
kids fell in love with Cats.
Yeah.
But I was in New York, I guess 2 years ago. I saw the prom,
Oh,
and when I
sure.
saw, which I loved, but when I saw that production, I was thinking to myself, Broadway dance is now on steroids. We have gone like it's evolved so much from a chorus line and those kinds of
Yeah.
raw shows to
Yeah.
now. So, can you talk to me a little bit about the evolution that you've seen on stage? Because to me, theater dance now is a whole other level.
Well, I think with the likes of Hamilton, uh, you know, um, Andy Blankenbuehler being the choreographer of Hamilton. Andy Blankenbuehler and I were in the production of Fosse together. And, Sergio Trujillo, who's a Broadway, a Tony and choreographer, as well as Andy, Jersey Boys and Ain't Too Proud right now on Broadway. So I do think that where Broadway has been and where it is now, it is different just because of the time and how dance has moved and shifted because of music. It's influenced by so many different things, by writing, by music. So that informs the movement. Taking Hamilton and In the Heights, I think In the Heights was sort of the one of the first moments where I think sort of hip hop dance was infused into theater in such a beautiful way. And
Mm.
so, but I also think, given Andy Blankenbuehler and his background, I know that he was influenced and comes from great training and technique and foundation, and Jerome Robbins, Michael Bennett, Bob Fosse, all the greats. So I do think like with Hamilton and let's say now Moulin Rouge on Broadway,
Oh,
which is Sonia Taya, a good friend of mine and a wonderful artist, and that movement. But also in her work, I know she's influenced by Martha Graham. So it really depends on your,
uh-oh.
oh,
Okay,
sorry.
you're back.
It really, yeah, sorry. It really depends on your influences as a choreographer and what you bring into your work to make it that special, beautiful mixture of dance and movement. One of my favorite shows is Dear Evan Hansen, and it's a musical, but it's a play slash musical. Such beautiful, and the choreography and the staging in that show is so beautiful. But in truth, it really tells the story. It moves the story forward. It's really a part of the story. And within it, if you really break down the movement, it's got classic movement in it. It's simple, but it's effective. It's fun. It's exhilarating. It makes you excited with each character singing the piece of music or the song, and with the whole, and it has a lot of technology aspect in it. So I think that dance on Broadway is so many things. It depends on the piece. Hadestown, incredible piece of theater. you know
Incredible. Yes.
really unique, but the movement, it's really about the staging, the lighting. I think it's so many different aspects as one. It's not just one element. I think it's everything that comes together in one seamless idea and one thought. So I do think it always, like right now, it has lots of elements of classic, but also new and fresh, incorporating new styles, different choreographers. I think great voices like Camille Brown, who did Once on This Island.
Which
Such
is gorgeous. That was extraordinary, that production.
spectacular, and her work is so innovative and fresh. Even though Once on This Island is a piece of theater that's from a bit ago, it's still came to Broadway, I think last year, in a fresh new way, and her
Oh,
work makes it feel new and alive. And you know
did you happen to see The Wrong Man off Broadway last season?
I didn't see it, but I heard great things about it. I know that it has an incredible team, a creative team,
The dance was
and Travis.
extraordinary. Yes. Well,
I'm
and
sure the dance was.
of influences, you have worked with some of the great choreographers of our time, from Anne Ranking to Rob Marshall to Paula Abdul. Working with these great choreographers, what have you learned from them, and how has working with them informed who you are as a choreographer?
I think that's such a good question. Working with so many, because I danced for and enjoyed a really beautiful dance career as a professional dancer. Rob Marshall sticks out in my head because being in the room with Rob Marshall and knowing his background and the way he works with dancers and artists and just people in general, he brings out the best in everyone, and he makes you feel alive, and his creativity is so beautiful. And I loved working with him on all the projects I did. And I think working with him, I learned a lot about how to get the best out of everyone, how to make the environment feel safe, and that you don't, and the performer doesn't feel insecure, that we feel alive and we feel ready to work, and ready to bring his movement to and bring life to the movement. So Rob Marshall is a huge influence, and just as a human being, aside from a creator, just as a human being, he's just the greatest. And then if you go to Paula Abdul and her work, the work that I've done with her, her work ethic is demanding, but it's the result is it proves so rich. And the American Music Awards performance that I was a part of early in my career, in which she won an Emmy for. Paula, her movement is so strong yet dynamic and has so much masculinity in it, and it's just empowering, I would say. So for me, Paula's movement and choreography was empowering and and was dynamic, and yet subtlety with strength, and having to have technique was really important to her. So that was great. I learned so much from dancing with her and dancing her movement. um, and yeah, just so many. And Debbie
Mm.
Allen, a pioneer, working with her was incredible. Um, and Ryan King, the Foxy work in general, I would say, taught me how to be on stage every night and do that work. The Fosse work was really taught me about maturity, because I learned that you do not have to give everything all at once, that you don't give everything up right in the first 10 seconds, that
Mm.
it's like a journey you take people on. And the subtlety, it was almost like you could be everything by doing nothing.
Ooh, yes.
You could be everything by doing not a whole lot. It was about subtlety and strength. It's almost like how we love sweet and salty, that goes together. Like we love that. It's like that in dance too. So dance really represents, it's like it represents life, because a conversation is rich when it's got peaks and valleys, highs and lows, subtleties, textures. Any conversation that you're in it, and you want to be part of it, because it takes you on a journey,
Mm.
and it's not one note the whole way through, if that makes sense. So I learned so much.
Oh, I 100% agree. And what I love about um, the vibe I'm getting from you is
Mhm.
that, I mean, when you talk about Jerome Robbins, you talk about Fosse, even you talk about an artist like Paula Abdul. They're steeped in technique,
Yeah.
and they are, and it's very specific
Mhm.
choreography. It's very specified dance.
Yeah.
And I guess in this world that we live in, where kids, they see something on YouTube and they want to be an overnight sensation, what would
Mhm.
you say to students of dance about foundation?
That's such an important question. Thank you for that. That's really a beautiful question. Well, I teach across the country. I do a lot of masterclass teaching, and so um, I think I would say, I don't know what that saying is. Believe it's like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. If it was easy, and hard work really does pay off, for sure. um, and training is different than taking a class. I think sometimes people go into a class and take one or two classes, maybe three or four classes, but that's I'm not sure that that's really training with someone is over time, so that you could really fully understand the world that they live in. Like you go into a hip hop class, I think it's different when you just go into a hip hop class and take the class and emulate, rather than wrap your whole mind and soul around what is that world about, and living the life of someone who does hip hop dance, and understanding the style and what it takes, and even down to what you wear in a
Mm.
hip hop class. I think too, like just the simple fact that, like, let's say a ballet dancer goes into a hip hop class. You have to transform. You have to wrap your whole mind around what that world is. You have to be interested in as a dancer, for me, I can only speak for my experience, that it was about a long road for me. I wanted to get on the train and stay on the train for as long, and not, uh, you know, I was always interested in the different voices and the different people that I could be exposed to and be in the room with
Mm.
them. I felt lucky. And so I think training is key because it gives you such, it's almost like a tree. Like, let's say the tree has roots, and let's say there's a storm to come in, and is that tree going to fall because the roots weren't strong? The roots meaning the foundation of the dancer. You lay those roots down and that tree is strong from the root, and not because that tree looks beautiful. Yes, trees are beautiful. And so does this make sense?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
compare, yeah, I compare like um, life to art. Art is imitating life at all moments for me, you know. And like, take Jerome Robbins. Jerome Robbins is and was one of the most iconic, most important artists of our time in theater and in the world of ballet.
Mm.
Came from the ballet and created theater, and theater that will last forever. And it's
Forever.
forever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy will never not be incredible just because of the comedy is the serious. The seriousness is the comedy. It's so funny, and it's like I look at dance the same way, you know. And like, and if you have training, training's for life. You know, it's once a dancer, always a dancer, you know, no matter at what level. If you really embody dance and movement and you understand it, I don't think it's really about, you know, I always teach kids, like, it's not about first place, second place, best overall, 10th place, who cares? That doesn't matter. What matters is you're the most important thing, you know.
Well, and I think too, you use the word emulate. Going into a hip hop class, you can emulate what you're seeing. But
Yeah,
I think if you develop the foundation, that's
yeah,
the difference between emulating and creating, because then
yes,
you bridge that gap. I
absolutely, definitely.
think so.
Oh,
Um, you also went to the famed high school
yeah,
for performing arts in New
yeah,
York. And I saw an interview that you did on YouTube, and it sounds like it wasn't an easy ride there. And I know in this particular interview, you talked about how some kids were not so nice to you, which I think speaks to what so many kids go through right now. Um,
in high school,
I think that's yeah.
I mean, at the High School of Performing Arts, I mean, because we were all in the arts, dancing and singing and acting and you music and all of that. I don't know that it was so tough personally. Kids weren't, I mean, kids are just kids, you know, teenagers are teenagers. But I think in the High School of Performing Arts, it was such a great place for training, for sure. We were getting world-class training from people at the Martha Graham dance company and learning from these incredible artists, the teachers. I think they were tough. I think more than anything, they were tough. And I was in a world where it was the real world, and it was training for life and consistency and showing up every day and getting to the ballet bar at 8 o'clock in the morning, ready to go. And I think it was tough because yeah, I was laying down some foundation, some important roots. And it was tough because they were just teaching us, I think, lessons for life. And
Mm.
so it was rough, you know. And so it was hard to like mentally wrap your mind around some of those ideas. But I think on the flip side of it, it did prepare me. It prepared me. I thank them for all of that experience because it taught me how to live, and it taught me that it's not for the weak of heart.
It's a
You
tough.
know, it is. It's tough. And I think what's great about it is it's not for the weak of heart. And you know, if and just the reality of it and the hard work that goes into it. And you have to have so much passion. You have to have a strong pull towards what you're going after, to be in the business or be just involved in the professional world, whatever, in whatever capacity you choose. So it taught me how to live, and that's good. And it taught me that when you get knocked down, it's really about who you are and not what it is that you know how to do, because that's just information. Just, as a dancer, you could be the best in the room, and what does that mean, really? It doesn't really mean much. And it's really about who you are and what you bring to the what you bring to the table.
Well, and kind of talking about how to living, and those lessons that you learn through the arts about
Yeah.
life. Um, One of my followers, one of my friends, Stan, he had a question. He
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about the importance of dance in a COVID kind of world, and where you see dance as an art form evolving as a result of this pandemic.
I think that dance, to answer that question, I think dance is and the I dance because I dance, but singing, acting, all of it, all of it. I think it's really important in this time. Like, I think it's important to pay attention to because all of us feel a different way in this moment, because we as a society have never, this is the first of its time
Mm,
for us. So we are, because as artists, we're in the home. We artists don't have a lot of consistency. We're gypsies. Our schedules are different. It's very all over the map. We don't spend a lot of time at home because we're out doing, and we're working, or we're in a class, or we're doing so many different things. So I think we're getting used to a different way of being. It's a lot more consistent because we're home.
mm.
And so I think we have no choice but to then see how that feels in our spirit, and how dance plays a part in a new way of living, if that makes sense. I know for myself, I'm just paying attention to my spirit, and I feel like I'm being a lot gentler myself,
Mm.
and I'm dancing, but I'm not dancing all the time. I'm dancing when it feels like organic and right. And I'm not putting any pressure on myself, but I'm just navigating and just listening to my spirit a lot more. And so I think it's very important right now to just pay attention to yourself, and to dance when it feels right, and not dance, and maybe do something else. Because I think that doing other things in the arts really adds to your dance. Like, if you want to paint, if you want to sing, if you want to try anything, like editing. Like, I've been trying to work with things that are like complicated for me. I'm like playing with different editing programs, and I'm like, that's kind of interesting. And so I think that's good, so that when I go back to dance, I have another perspective. You bring different gifts to your craft. So I think that it's a really important time and I do think, having said all that, I think it's important to dance just because music and dance is healing to the soul. And I think it's so important. Arts for kids, keeping arts in the schools is so important, because that has been challenging. It's
Yes.
very, very challenging with government funding. They want to take it away. I think it's very, very important for people to sing and dance and write and
Mm.
paint, and
And be able to express themselves. That's
I
what
think
it is. It's an
it's
expression.
so important. And the good thing about now is you don't have to be at any certain level. I think the pressure to be, I don't know, dancing or singing or acting at a high level, like I said, first place, second place, 10th place, 11th, 12th, who cares? It's really just about you. You're the most important thing, and expressing yourself however you feel, and not being afraid because of social media and the pressure that it has shown and revealed. I just think it's important to express yourself in your way,
in
you
your
know, and it's therapeutic.
It is. Well,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting to me because in this time, I
Mhm.
feel like people are leaning on the arts so much for something to do, for comfort, for coping.
Yes,
People are leaning on the arts in so many different ways.
I think
Uh,
so.
and so I hope that translates to government funding and audiences post pandemic. I hope this opens up our world of audiences afterwards.
Hmm.
But one thing that strikes me is nothing is more popular than TikTok right now. People
Yeah, yeah,
are turning to TikTok and dance.
yeah. It's fun. It's so fun.
So can you tell me, Thais, because in my house, we've made a lot of really sad TikTok videos. What makes a good TikTok video?
Well, I will. I can only speak from like I've watched a lot of TikTok dances, and I like to watch them and see which ones uh, I gravitate towards, because we're all different in our in our taste buds for anything. And so I think the most fun TikTok videos are the ones that feel like that person's having the best time, and sometimes the ones that are silly, that there's no care, that they're not looking for um, I don't know what the word is. They're not looking for too much attention, but they're more sharing the song and how they feel at home, with a little bit of space and a more concentrated couple of moves. I like how you see that person really express themselves with no inhibitions. So to me, like I like how TikTok that particular TikTok dance, translates to my liking.
Well, it's like dance, like no one's watching, and those make the
Yes,
videos.
yes, agreed. Like when people are dancing like no one's watching, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not so. Uh, I don't know, and then they're not so self-aware,
Yes.
you know, so that they can just dance freely, and then we can. It makes me want to learn that dance,
Mm.
and I've realize that that's why I want to learn it, because it's so free. It's so freeing, and the song comes to life because of you, It's like you're the artist. And because now, like in this in this world we're living in this time, it's almost like celebrity is taken on a new meaning. And I feel like the celebrities are the people that are working in the front lines, that are, you know, those are the celebrities.
Absolutely. The people that
That
we're really relying on the most to get us
absolutely.
through this.
Absolutely.
Um, Speaking of celebrities, you've
Hmm.
worked with a few. um, Taylor Swift is very big in my house, and one of the first um, real concerts I took my daughter to see was the Red Tour, which
Oh,
we loved so much.
yeah,
So you choreographed for her, you've choreographed for these big arena tours like that, and
yeah,
then choreographed for the stage, like at Cape Fear Regional Theater.
yeah, yeah,
So talk to me about and for film, pretty much every medium you've choreographed for film, television, these large arena tours, and then
yeah.
this. Um, so talk to me about the difference in choreographing a big arena show like the Red Tour, where I might be sitting in the nosebleed seats, versus choreographing something for Cape Fear Regional Theater, where I'm sitting just feet from the stage.
That's an amazing. Thanks so much for your questions are great. I really appreciate them. They're really good. Um, the Red Tour specifically, that was my first world tour that I got to choreograph for such a big artist like Taylor Swift, and such a talented artist. Um, that was like I was a kid in a candy store. I would, you know, I had the best dancers and an artist who was willing to hand themselves over and really do what you're asking them to do. So it was, and creating to her music. I mean, the Red tour was magical, so fun. It was so playful. It had, you know, and the great thing about Taylor Swift is that she's very theatrical. She really tells a story very, very well, and everything she wants to do is based on the music she writes and the stories that she's telling, and it has purpose. So that was great. Now, flip side, taking a project like the Cape Fear Regional Theater and doing a show like Music City that I did recently, I will say it was one of the most glorious, most fantastic projects I've ever worked on in my career. Because working with Mary Kate Burke and everyone at Cape Fear Regional Theater, Ashley, and producer Dee Dee Harris, and just the cast alone, like it was a win-win, and it was one of the most magical projects I've ever worked on because the piece had such importance. You know, and doing it in North Carolina, in a military town, and where there's military families, and it's just, there was so much heart in it, and the story and the music was filled with so much passion and importance, and the fact that I could create in a different way, and you know, leading the ship, and the director Mary Kate Burke was just, we and Mary Kate and I just connected in such instantly, you know. We met over FaceTime, and then we met in person, and then just the way, and again, it's like, you know, when I was talking about Rob Marshall, one of those people. Rob Marshall is someone that I hold up very high, very highly respected. I have so much respect for him, and you know, when I met him, he loved my dancing, and he connected to my dancing, and I felt like he trusted me. And so I feel like I'm always sort of connected universally with people that are the right energies, and Mary Kate Burke being one of those very, very smart, incredibly um, creative, and, and just such a great director, and everybody in that production, you know, it was great. And our reviews for Music City were beautiful, and we were all on the same page. So it was really, really an amazing experience. So, and they're both like doing like stage live arena for Taylor Swift, and doing something at Cape Fear Regional Theater. To me, it was the same thing, because it was at such a high, because I'm such a passionate person. So for me, I treat everything with the same kind of level of importance. And, you know, so I really had a beautiful experience there.
If you're doing an arena show, does
Yeah.
the movement have to be bigger? I mean, everything about that Red show was big.
Yes.
My
Yeah.
favorite moment of the Red show, and this is a long time ago, so the fact that I can even remember this speaks to
Yeah.
the dancing. That opening number was stunning on that
Uh,
Red,
yeah.
on that
Yeah. Yeah.
Red show. But does the movement have to be bigger? Does it
Yeah.
have to be more
Yes.
exaggerated?
Yes, it does, because I think I gravitate towards dancers and performers and people who are larger than life, but also have a lot of different levels. Again, I talked about levels, texture and substance. When I was talking about the Fosse work,
Mhm.
Fosse had it was a very subtle style, but Fosse had a very dynamic, athletic side to him as a dancer. So you have to have all, and that's why training is important. That's why training is important. So yes, I think, choreographing for Taylor Swift's Red Tour, or her 1989 or Reputation World Tour, especially the Reputation World Tour, we were in like stadiums. So the dancers that were selected, if you're sitting in far away, you look this big, but you have to dance Oops.
That's okay.
Sorry. And so you have to dance bigger and more precise, and your focus has to be, and the intention has to be, you know. And so, yeah. So yes to your question.
um, so now you are doing a senior class. I have a senior in high school, and there's
Mhm.
so much disappointment for these kids right now because
Yeah.
they missed prom, they were missing graduation ceremonies. And you have challenged them. You're doing a senior class of 2020 challenge. So, talk to me about this dance challenge.
Yeah, obviously I partnered up with Cape Fear Regional Theater. Mary Kate Burke called me and said, "Would you be interested in doing this for the senior class, graduating senior class of Cumberland County?" And I was instantly yes on it. And then we decided on Megan Trainor's song "I Love Me," and what a better song and an anthem to celebrate yourself and your accomplishments, in your schooling, and especially, graduating seniors. It's so important. Like, they're the future. And so, and why not dance? Why not dance and celebrate yourself and dress up in your cap and gown and the school colors and whatever makes you feel amazing, and dance to that song. A top recording artist like Megan Trainor. And so we just thought it was such.
Top choreographer like Tyce Diorio.
Thank you, thank you, thanks. I really appreciate that. And I went into my studio and I started just dancing around to the music and creating what feels like it might be attainable and fun, even if have dance experience or you don't have dance experience. It's for everyone. And so, and you can just celebrate yourself, to this song. And then it gives you a challenge, and it gives you something to do, and see your dancing on. They're going to premiere it on Facebook on May 30th, I believe, at 8 p.m. And so it's such an incredibly important time for these seniors, graduating seniors all over the world. And so I just thought it was important to be a part of it. And if Mary Kate called me, I told Mary Kate, I was like, yes to whatever. Yes to whatever, because I trust her, and I respect her. I admire her. She's become a friend of mine through our experience. And, I believe in her as a human being first.
I think, in addition to just being a senior in high school right now, for so many kids who love the arts,
Yes.
especially boys in dance. And I know
Yeah.
that because my son, he loved to dance when he was little,
Yeah.
and it was tough for him.
Yeah.
What would you say to those kids who maybe have felt like the outcasts because they like to sing and dance and make art? What would you say to those kids?
I would say that, whatever drives your soul and your passion and your whatever your interests are in arts, you know, dancing and singing and playing a musical instrument and acting and writing and all of that, everything in the arts is it's necessary for your life, because it makes you, and let's take dance, the coordination, the confidence it gives you, just knowing how to move and understand music. It's a beautiful thing. I usually say it's from up above. It's from God. It's from heaven. It's from the universe. It's you just can't put words to it, because it gives us a sense of ourselves. It gives us passion, and I think having something that you're passionate about in life is important, no matter what it is.
And I think too, as artists, you have to believe in yourself and believe in your craft
Yep.
150%.
Yes.
And so I think sometimes there's a difference. I recently interviewed an artist and we had a big conversation about this. So I want to pose this to you too.
Yeah.
There's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and yet I think people confuse the two. But I think
Yes.
when you're an artist, you have to be confident. So can you
Yeah.
talk about that in this business?
Yeah. It's, I mean, even when I was 18, coming from New York and going to California, I was confident, and but those were my defense mechanisms. And a lot of people receive that confidence can look like arrogance and all of that, but confidence is important. Yes, it is. And I think the arts and a skill set like acting, gives you that kind of confidence to play those characters and believe in yourself. And singing, dancing, all of it, playing a musical instrument, writing, it gives us the kind of confidence that's important in our lives, and especially guys who dance too. I think it's 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 essential. Dance. I think football players take ballet just for coordination and the grace and the elegance and the ease and the speed that it gives them. So am a big believer that you just have to stay true to your artistry and to what feeds your soul. And 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 even if you just dance for fun, I think the whole world should dance. And I think everyone does dance in their own way, and that's important too, to not be so self-conscious and aware when you're dancing, when you're singing, when you're acting, just because these are all beautiful things. I think of them like flowers and like nature. It's so essential for our it's essential for my well-being. I think the arts and singing and dancing and acting are essential for people's well-being if you love it, you know.
I
And you
agree.
should never doubt yourself, and do it with no inhibitions.
So
And that's
what
that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it.
I totally agree. What is on Tyce Diorio's pandemic playlist?
I love artists like, oh man, I've been discovering some new artists, and like I love on the radio, like radio friendly artists. I love Childish Gambino. I
Mm,
love the music. I love the music, and I love world music. I love some different obscure artists that are not mainstream, that
mhm.
just have their artistry. There's an artist named Craig Strickland that I love his music. I love James Bay. I love Billy Lockett. I love Christine and the Queens. I love Maggie Rogers. Ugh, just so incredibly full of artistry. Yeah, it really speaks to my soul.
Mm.
Um, but I also love, let's see, uh, let's like right now, I love some voices. I love Rihanna. I love Ariana Grande. I love, you know, um, India Ari, Jill Scott, Angie Stone, Stevie Wonder. I love an array of music because I'm a music lover. You know.
I love that. It's very eclectic. Your play.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I love. I mean, one of the best artists of all time, Annie Lennox.
Oh yeah.
One of the best artists of all time. So incredibly beautiful and passionate.
Well, I've enjoyed this time with you so much. I feel like it's been a shot in the arm. It's like an adrenaline rush. You're
So great.
making me want to go dance, and of course,
Cool.
no one's watching, which I hope no one will because it's really.
Listen, you just throw yourself in wholeheartedly. That's that's the best. That's when I think the world worships the original, and the fact that you have no inhibitions when you dance is what makes you unique, and that's what makes you incredibly unique and important. And
And I
so
will put, I will put when I post this later onto Facebook, and it's on Facebook now. But when I edit the post, I will put the links to the Cape Fear Regional Senior Challenge. I did take a
great.
look at the dance. it doesn't look all that easy, but I think kids can master
I
it.
think so, yeah. And I think even if you look and I think you should throw, if you're watching that video, throw yourselves in and do what you think it is. And then it becomes unique to you. And then you have your own dance. I think it's a good thing, you know.
Absolutely.
Don't
Well,
let the challenge defeat you. Like you can rise to the challenge. You can totally, you know, because kids are watching TikTok videos and making it their own anyway, and that's the beauty of that, you know. So
well, thank you so much for spending this time with me
thank
this
you.
Friday, and stay safe and healthy.
You
And
too.
I hope to see your work on stage soon again.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye bye.
Yes, thank you all.